I mean, this event has really evolved beyond discovering prints and trend. It's now about discovering what's next for your brand, for your business, and for the future of fashion in Australia. We have a new venue, we have a new home. So, Carriage Works Sydney, which is an iconic space, and it really aligns perfectly with our kind of curated, elevated identity. We've refined our curation and we've introduced new categories that are really reflecting where the industry is heading and what our design community has been asking for.
Hello and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Formosa, the founder of Fashion Equipped and devourer of all things fashion, business and mindset. In this podcast, I'm speaking with thought leaders, change makers and entrepreneurs about the business side of fashion and everything in between. Fashion Business Mindset is your front row seat to real stories from designers, brands, entrepreneurs, makers and mentors. We'll discuss how to launch and grow a fashion business and give you insider access to the future of fashion. So let's do this together and ensure that you're equipped to make the fashion business your business. Welcome back to Fashion Business Mindset. My guest today is Patricia Lynch, the founder and creative director behind two influential platforms shaping Australia's design landscape, the Design Gallery and Partridge Agency. With over 2 decades of experience in the fashion and textile industry, Pat launched Partridge Agency as a globally recognised surface design agency, representing exclusive artwork for the fashion sector. Her deep industry knowledge and creative vision have helped connect Australian brands with some of the world's most innovative print studios. Building on that success, Pat founded the Design Gallery, a curated sourcing event that brings together the country's most forward-thinking designers, buyers and suppliers. The Design Gallery isn't just a trade show, it's a platform for innovation, sustainability and connection, giving both established brands and emerging creatives a space to grow, collaborate and future-proof their work. Pat's work sits at the intersection of creativity and commerce, with a passion for elevating the Australian design industry on a global stage. The next edition of the Design Gallery will be held on the 27th and 28th of August at Carriage Works in Sydney, and it's set to be the biggest and most future-focused event yet. During this episode, Pat and I dived into her journey from retail beginnings to agency life and launching 2 powerhouse platforms, what makes the Design Gallery more than just a trade event and why it's so relevant for you to visit, how the Design Gallery supports both emerging and established designers across fashion, interiors and lifestyle, why print and surface design is having a resurgence in product development, how innovation, sustainability and fashion tech are reshaping the sourcing experience, and how Pat leads with creativity, strategy and well-being in a fast-paced industry. I loved every minute of my chat with Patricia and I'm sure you will too. So let's dive in. Pat, welcome to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure being here.
Thank you for joining me. Now, I can't wait to dive into all things Design Gallery today. But before we do, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey. So can you tell us a bit about your background and then what led you to launch the Design Gallery?
Yeah, sure. So I started in retail as soon as I left school, I jumped straight into retail. Uni didn't really feel quite the right fit for me. The thought of studying again for a few years wasn't me. I really just wanted to dive straight into my fashion career, and I think I knew that really early on. And so, yeah, I did retail for a couple of years, and that gave me a really good insight into customer service and experience and product.
Yeah.
I then landed a job at a fashion agency in Brisbane, and I had no idea what a fashion agency was about. And so I was really overwhelmed and really like excited when I got that job, because for me it was like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful space. And it was so foreign to me, but I felt like it was my calling, and I needed to be there. So I got the job, and that was amazing. That was a really good introduction into a fashion agency and wholesale, and being a sales rep, and the Australian fashion landscape. You know, I worked with some really amazing Aussie brands when I was there. And then I moved into a head office position in Sydney for one of the brands that I was repping at the agency. And that was amazing. I was in my early 20s. I just moved to Sydney. The rag trade was so good. You know, the boutique market, it was kind of pre-ecom, if you can believe that. And, you know, the boutique business was really good. I mean, we were in a space where, you know, you could sneeze and sell 500 units of something. And it just created for a really fun environment. And so that was a really great position as a brand manager. They were multi-branded, and it gave me exposure to everything: marketing, sales, design, production, development. It gave me a really good holistic view of the industry. And by the end of that, it was coming about 10 years that I'd worked in wholesale, and I'd worked with the majors at the time, which was DJs and Myer and your leading surf guys. And I felt like I needed a bit of a change, a bit of a new challenge. I knew that I wanted to stay in sales. I knew that was really me, and the essence of what I wanted to do in the fashion industry. And I came across a print studio in Sydney that was looking for a sales rep. And I kind of had a little understanding of what the print world was about, having worked so closely with design in the head office role. What I knew of it was these print vendors would come in once a month with their suitcases, and they'd show a case full of fabric and these beautiful prints, and then the design team would make their selects. They'd run past the sales department and kind of flash it in our face, and what do you think of this for the next collection? And that's kind of as far as it went. But I went for this job, and it was just like I'd found my calling. I was like, this is what I want to do. I was young. It was travel. It was trade shows. It was New York and Paris and Shanghai. It was working with runway to high street to these mid-tiered brands. And it was like I'd found my calling, but also it was a really nice continuation of what I'd learnt in the head office role. And I didn't get the job, and I was absolutely devastated. And so I called around any other print studios in Sydney, and really at the time there weren't a lot. It's still a niche industry. And it was like one or two, and the universe provided, and one of them called me back and said, oh, we're actually looking for a salesperson, come in for an interview. And so that was great. That was my first job in the print world, and it was amazing. It really gave me all the foundation and the fundamentals of learning about copyrighted artwork and licensed artwork. I think most importantly, it was sitting with designers, sitting alongside the artists, and really understanding the process in creating the final product, you know, from a piece of artwork and how that turns into a garment. And so, and the process behind that. So I felt like I'd had a really great few years of understanding a print studio and in-house and how that works. And then from there, I got a job working for a leading print agency in New York. And I got to work and live in New York for a couple of years, which was so fun. I mean, living in New York, but also working with the US and working with big box retailers, high end, and getting to experience the difference between the US market and the Australian market and how different it is from, I mean, obviously scale and size, but to trend, to product, to processes. The design room setup is so different to here. And so that was great. It was a great learning. And by the end of my couple of years in New York, I felt like I had a really confident understanding of, matching the right print to the right client and ultimately building, brand relationships that helped them sell and succeed their product. And then so when someone came to me and said, hey, I've got this collection, do you want to sell for me? I had the opportunity to set up my own agency back in Australia and take some of these studios and artists that I was representing in New York back in Australia. And then that was Partridge. Partridge Agency was born. And I was just counting, I think it's about 8 years, end of this year.
Wow.
That Partridge has been around. And we are now one of the world's leading print agencies. And it's been a wild ride. I've loved every minute of it. And I just love what I do. And I'm really proud, I think, kind of getting my thoughts together, to chat with you. It was kind of the first time that I really reflected on 8 years and where we are. And I had a moment of going, yeah, good on you. Like before Partridge, the Australian brands, they didn't really have that opportunity to network with these global artists. And so I feel proud that we've been able to introduce, some really different handwritings to what was on offer at the time, and support the local market. And we represent different artists from around the world. We're Brazilians. I've got a Spanish artist, Colombian. So really injecting a fresh kind of perspective on art to our designers.
I love it. You've achieved so much over that journey, and congratulations, 8 year with Partridge. That is, that is something certainly to be celebrated. And I can relate. It's not until you're asked to reflect on the journey, you don't give yourself the pleasure to do that on a daily basis. But when you do, you're like, oh my gosh, gee, I've done some things. And just listening to your, journey in the industry from retail to wholesale to the brand side into the print world. I mean, all of those building blocks obviously serve you well in your own agency today. And now with you looking at, taking the design gallery to the next level. I had a similar pathway in the industry with retail, wholesale and the brand side. And I owned and run my own wholesale agency, but I didn't jump into the print world. And it really is the last few years that my eyes have been open to everything that's available, because in my positions in the industry, I've typically had an in-house designer who's worked on all of the print artwork for me. I know that now I have many, many clients that buy prints through print agencies such as yourself and others. And I think it's kind of the industry's best kept secret. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people tuning in thinking, well, what happens in this print world if they haven't had experience of buying artwork or working in that kind of format that you're offering with a textile designer? I'm thinking we should shine a light on how the whole landscape looks. So, when you say, you're Partridge Agency and this is what I do, how do you articulate that to someone who perhaps hasn't been in this area of the industry before?
Such a great question, because I myself really struggle. For 8 years, I'm kind of like, how do I word it? Because it's a really niche industry. And then when you're talking about artwork and prints, people kind of assume that you're talking about, posters that you hang on your wall at home. So it is about copyrighted artwork. So I think when we're in an industry where product is becoming quite similar, or silhouettes are the same, for commercial viability, the only way to really differentiate, it's not the only, it's one of the ways to differentiate, is by print. It offers such unique personality and different perspective, and it's so subjective artwork.
Yeah.
And so it basically is a process where you view our collections, and we are adding to our collections all the time, and we are launching new designs every week.
Yeah.
And the designer or the buyer comes in and they have a look at the collection, and this ranges from every different handwriting, from geos to stripes to really beautiful hand painted florals to paisleys, and the designer and buyer can have the choice. They are all one-off, one-of-a-kind prints. And when you purchase that print, the copyright is included in that transaction, and you basically own the right to use that print. Only you globally have the right to use that print in whatever capacity you want. And a lot of people ask me, well, how many, units can I print, or what can I do with it? It's completely yours. So you can do whatever you want with it. And so it is a really beautiful part of the industry, I think, because it does give that personality. And, when we start having, we obviously formed some really great relationships with leading brands and designers. And it's so great to see their handwriting, and you understand what it is that designer is looking for. And as a curator, you're kind of one step ahead of them and going, oh my God, I've just got this bunch of brand new batik prints or spots, and I just immediately go, I know exactly who's going to want to see these, and so that's a really fun part of the job as well, is being able to curate that collection and know, oh my God, which print aligns to which brand. But then there are some days that you go into a design room and they just absolutely throw a spanner in the works and pull out like a conversational print, a little boat or something that you're like, I absolutely did not see that coming. And that's part of it as well. That's really fun to see the evolution of their journey and their print direction.
Yeah, I love it. So you're taking all that hard work out of it for the brands and the designers, because you're doing the trend forecasting. So you're really sharing with the businesses what's coming down the pipeline, what's hot, what's not, maybe what's emerging, kind of bubbling underneath the surface that people are not aware of just yet, so they can get ahead of it. There's variety, so there's prints, especially at the design gallery. When we get into that, there's going to be a smorgasbord of print artwork available. Let's talk about the products, just for those tuning in. What kind of products are these prints being applied to across the industry?
Oh, everything and anything. Look, we do pretty much focus on the fashion industry. So that ranges from intimates, swimwear, apparel. And then we do actually work with a lot of accessories. So not so much footwear, but just accessories. We've got a great brand that does lunchboxes and pencil cases. And so it's really dependent. I mean, the artwork themselves is set up so that it's a really seamless process, that anybody buying it can go straight to their mill or their printer, and it's all done for them. So changing the scale is really easy for us to do if you're working with, small scale products. But we do generally focus on the fashion industry.
Yeah, I'd imagine homewares as well. I'm thinking about cushions and things like that. So anything kind of,
Absolutely. Interiors,
yeah.
homeware. So we work with a lot of like bedding companies, fabric suppliers. But yeah, it's pretty amazing when someone can come to a tent. Someone was selling camping, and it's showing that need for personality. I think the consumer is really wanting to have a product that their personality can shine through. And so that's, another kind of really beautiful aspect of the print world.
Yeah, I love it. And I think attending events like yours that we're going to dive into, it gets the inspo flowing as well. So you might be kind of offering a certain category at the moment, and then you might look at some prints and get inspired to go into lounge or sleepwear, or, another category that could be complementary to what you're doing. So I think it certainly creates those kind of incremental opportunities attending events like the Design Gallery. So let's dive into the Design Gallery. I'd love for you to share, Pat, what are you setting out to achieve with this event, and how does this event contribute to your broader vision with all this experience you're bringing to the table? How does it contribute to your vision for its place within the industry in the future?
Yeah, so the design gallery was built to support the entire design journey. So from concept to collection, and everyone that's part of that creative journey. So from print studios to leaders in technology, logistics partners, marketing, recruitment, it's about offering a full creative ecosystem. So we're not speaking to just one type of brand or business. The design gallery is really designed for everyone across the industry spectrum. So from fashion students and freelancers to mid-tier boutiques, big box retailers, corporate already established companies. And our aim is to bring sourcing, innovation, sustainability, and networking together in one space and creating an annual event on the design calendar, something that the industry can really rely on to reconnect, stay ahead, and ultimately build incredible, powerful collections.
Yeah.
And we're working toward a self-sustaining ecosystem. So where local manufacturing is really re-energized, where Australian suppliers get direct access to Australian brands, where designers don't have to go offshore on these long-haul sourcing trips to find inspiration. And, those trips, they're so time-consuming. Not to mention, the resources, the time, the effort, the money, and small and independent brands, they don't have the infrastructure to invest in that. And so there really wasn't anything in Australia offering our design community a place to source. So instead of, spending huge budgets on these overseas sourcing trips, it's all here and it's all in a really beautiful curated space.
I love that. What are some of the major kind of global events that you could compare to that people might be aware of and might have visited in the past?
Yeah, so I guess Premier Vision is probably the one that comes to mind in terms of, bringing together all of that, industry leaders. The difference between us and someone like Premier Vision is we're so intimate, we're so curated. It's not convention expo style. It's very much, the focus is very much about those intimate conversations. And I think that's really what is so special about the design gallery.
Yeah, yeah. I love that point of difference. And so you've been running the design gallery for how long now? How many events have you done historically?
So this is coming up to our fourth event in August.
Your
We
fourth.
have, yeah.
Yep. So this is set out to be bigger and better than ever, and certainly more future focused in terms of the innovation, technology, and everything that's coming down the pipeline at us in the industry. So for those who have attended in the past, what are some of the new elements or expansions that they can expect to see this year?
Yeah, I mean, this event has really evolved beyond discovering prints and trend. It's now about discovering what's next for your brand, for your business, and for the future of fashion in Australia. We have a new venue, we have a new home. So, Carriage Works Sydney, which is an iconic space, and it really aligns perfectly with our kind of curated, elevated identity. We've refined our curation and we've introduced new categories that are really reflecting where the industry is heading and what our design community has been asking for. So we've partnered with Clothes 3D and Browseware, which is two of the world's leading fashion tech platforms who will be showcasing their 3D design software. And these tools are transforming the way collections are developed, from reducing physical sampling, speeding up time to market, enabling sustainable design and workflows, virtual fittings. I mean, the list goes on. And attendees are going to be able to see firsthand how these platforms are really reshaping everything from the design rooms to the production floor. So whether you're a designer, a product developer, or a brand just looking to really future-proof your business, you're really going to want to make the time to chat with these guys. We're also really incredibly excited to have Colour Row, which is part of WGSN, exhibiting for the first time, and they'll be showcasing their colour forecasting and validation technology. So this, again, is a really revolutionary tool that it'll blow your mind. I was kind of in awe when they were explaining to me what it's about. It really helps designers and brands make data-informed colour decisions, and the knock-on effect of that is incredible, especially from a sustainability and an innovation perspective. We're expanding into the services space, which is exciting. So we're really going to equip the designers with tools they need to grow and scale their business. InExpress is our logistics partner, and these guys are absolute legends. I've personally worked with them for the 8 years that I've had Partridge, and their customer service is second to none. So it's exactly why we've chosen them as a partner for the design gallery. So they are small, they're really tailored to kind of more small to medium sized businesses. So if you're really looking to simplify and streamline your domestic and international shipping. I cannot recommend these guys enough. They offer really good competitive rates, reliable service, and are just amazing at communication, and their account managers.
Yeah.
We've got the gorgeous team from Relier Group as this year's recruitment agency partner. We've got New South Wales Small Business Commission attending. We've got marketing, we've got branding, social content creators, all really important services needed within the fashion sector. We have vintage and sourcing, which is, I'm really excited about this. Curated, which is an iconic Sydney-based collector. He is known for his vintage and archive, and I think that adds just a whole new dimension to the sourcing experience, giving attendees this access to really rare and original pieces to inspire them for their future collections.
So
And
when you say pieces, are we talking about fabric or are we talking about print?
no, so these are luxury samples. So what a lot of our designers do on their sourcing trips overseas is source vintage. And so for silhouettes, for fabrication, for small details. And so they don't have to go to Brooklyn anymore. They don't have to go to Brixton. We're really trying to bring that here. And so Curated does an amazing job at that. He's a really young guy. He surprised me how young he was, but he's just so good and so passionate. There's this new wave of curators in this space that are really passionate about what they do. And so we're really excited to have him exhibit.
I'll have to check him out.
Curated.
So are those pieces for sale, or are they?
Yes.
They are. So it's not just on, display. It's not just a showcase. They're actually going to be for sale.
Exactly.
Oh, that's pretty cool, because that's the point of difference, right? Everyone's looking for something unique and really, that USP. So I love that. I love those partners. You've got so many amazing partners that you've onboarded. So well done. Like you said, it's more than just about the print and the artwork now, isn't it? You've got an amazing ecosystem. My next question was going to be about, why should buyers attend? I think we've already covered a lot of it. But we should probably touch on, so for established, designers and buyers, and let's say they're pretty autonomous with what they're doing in terms of print development right now. They might have an in-house team, or they might have other methods that they're using. Apart from networking, collaboration, obviously some of the, the exposure to other service-based providers that you've mentioned, how would you encourage anyone who perhaps is not buying print artwork yet? Why should they take notice of this event and the amazing designers that are going to be exhibiting their artwork? What would be the why that you would really focus on?
Look, I think it's about just being able to get out of the office for a day and be surrounded and be in a really beautiful curated space. I mean, I think the opportunity to source in a new environment. I think our work can sound pretty glamorous from the outside, but the reality is it's a lot of long hours and hands-on problem solving. And so with the day-to-day demands of design and manufacturing, it's really easy to get glued to your desk. So having a day like this where you can step away, you can reconnect and get inspired in person, I think is just a really nice gift. That was a really special thing when I first launched the event, was seeing people reconnect. It was like, Elizabeth, I haven't seen you in 20 years. How are you? Old colleagues that haven't seen each other. And I think that's the real beauty about the design gallery. We don't have a space. There's been no event for our side of the table to have this opportunity. There's Fashion Week, and there's other parts that focus on that end product, but there's never been an opportunity for us to connect and to collaborate and to create new partners. And I think also a lot of these designers and buyers attending, established designers and buyers, they might not even know who their sales rep is from Clo 3D or Browseware, or it might have just been virtual or online. And so this gives an opportunity for you to really meet them face to face and in person. And I think there's something really special in that, to have that intimate conversation and that in-person connection.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, our industry needs more events like this, definitely from a connection piece. You never know who you're going to meet at these events. It could be a game changer for your business.
Absolutely.
My brain's thinking about the commercial side though, in terms of the print artwork. I'm thinking about anyone who's, doing business as usual right now, your established business or retailer, and you've got your design team. I think going to an event like this, you can also broaden the commercial kind of horizon for you, because you're going to have access to not just one or two designers that you might have in house. There's going to be, I don't know how many, you'll tell us in a minute, but there's going to be a lot of variety of different genres of print, different handwritings of print aesthetic. And perhaps they've never, invested in buying artwork before. Perhaps it has all been managed in house, but this can open up a lot of commercial opportunities, the way that I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is, it's first of all, it's really important to have copyrighted artwork. Nobody wants
Yeah.
to get sued. So I think with such a conversation around AI and technology and, oh, well, AI is going to be able to produce me, a little ditzy or floral print.
Yeah.
I've got thoughts about that as well. But I think that you need to have the confidence that this is really legally sound work. So that is number one, and that is important, that you have crossed your T's and dotted your I's, and making sure that nobody in the US is going to come after you for having a duplicate or replicated print. I think that's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
And then as to your point and what you're saying, I think it's just personality, and really, look, it might not be traditionally your brand, but try a print. You might then be able to open up, your client base who's looking for, loves your silhouettes, loves your basics, but they want it in a print. They want to have that personality when everything is looking very same. That commercial landscape, people are wanting to inject personality into that. So I would say try the prints. I mean, I think from the last count, we have over 10 or 11 artists, all with very different handwriting. So
Yeah.
you'll have such a choice of handwritings and what you're drawn to. And yeah, I think for personality, but yeah, I think also opening up your market to be able to reach other customers that might want to try, your brand in some personality and some print.
I love that. I think can definitely complement what brands are already doing. They can be a little bit more adventurous, explore, as you said, some new designs, and do that in a very cost effective way. And as you said, in a safe way, because they're going to be able to own those, they'll be exclusive, and they're not going to have to worry about any kind of IP infringement. You mentioned AI. I can't keep going without chatting about it, because I also have my, thoughts about AI, but I'm sure that your industry, or your area of the industry, just like every other, is experiencing this surge of people using AI, and we know that it's getting, savvier and savvier. What is your point of view on brands perhaps out there that are thinking that AI is going to solve, the print creation kind of role for them?
Look, I am a huge advocate for AI. It is so part of my business now. So in that respect, it really does help and benefit businesses. I mean, look, I think I've probably got a biased opinion because I'm in the art world, but I
Yeah.
don't think any digital creation, any digital tool like AI will be able to generate an authentic hand drawn or painted design. I
Yeah.
just don't think it will ever get there. It's it's emotive. I mean,
Yeah.
I still, after 8 years, I pull prints out of collections, when they get delivered, and I'm blown away. Like, it's the detail and the time and the effort that's gone into it. And it tells a story. You can see that the artist was, trying to, evoke some kind of emotion and tell a story. And I just don't think AI will ever be able to recreate that. Maybe basic shapes here and there, sure, no problems. But then again, you've got that IP and copyright issue and legalities behind that as well.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about that storytelling element and the authenticity, because I love nothing more sitting in a range showing where, the designer talks through their inspirational journey. And often it can go right back to, the person who created that print artwork, and then how that collection came together, and how that evokes the feeling that they want the customer to have when they're wearing that product. And I actually just saw Nat Dabchek from Moz, the label, do a reel on Insta, and she was going through that exact process. I think she was visiting a retailer, and they had her talk through the inspiration behind the print that she'd chosen. And I was, I stopped scrolling. I stopped to listen. I'm like, I want to hear this story. So I think that storytelling element, you can't recreate that with AI just yet, unless it's made up. But when there's a real person, behind creating the artwork, it's a totally different story.
It's really interesting because a lot of our brands now are wanting imagery and content around the process. So we've never dealt with that. Like, we've never been asked that before. So really established brands are saying, hey, can you get the designer, if they have any content around creating that, can you send that to us? Because it's exactly right. It's creating a story. It's the narrative behind it, and the consumer wants to see that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, we've spoken about the established designers and buyers. I know that you're a big advocate for, fashion students and emerging Australian designers as well. We know this event is going to be a great playground for them. Is there anything different that you've got planned for the startups versus the scale-ups over the few days?
Yeah, so we are really here to support the next generation in Australian fashion, from small independent designers, students just starting out, or someone just launching their first collection and don't know really where to start. I think that it's really important to engage with these groups and get exposure, for them to get exposure on what's out there in the industry. And the design gallery is really giving them the opportunity to meet with suppliers face to face, learn from live panels. We've got live panels this year, which is really exciting. Connect with potential suppliers. So whether it's a print studio or a manufacturer or a recruiter, it's a place for them to feel really inclusive and supported. And it's reciprocated for the exhibitors. I mean, these exhibitors are meeting clients that it's the chance for them to be potential future clients.
Yeah.
When you're talking with students and, recent grads. So, yeah, look, I think that, I read an article from Rag Trader the other day. There's a 36% increase in retail insolvencies this financial year in Australia. And that says to me that there's a bit of an issue with our fashion economy. And that's an economy that contributes 1.7%, 1.6, 1.7% of GDP. So we really, I think part of the design gallery is really to inform and educate emerging designers and to set them up for success, so that we have the next Zimmerman or Christopher Esber, exhibiting in Paris. I think that that's really key and really important. We are partnering with UTS. So we've got, the students from UTS coming in, and we're making sure that, they're there to really listen and learn from the live panels and the discussions and the conversations there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there is a really big focus for emerging Australian talent for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, there's going to be something for everybody over these few days. Now, you mentioned sustainability earlier. Let's chat about how sustainability is being featured. I know you've got some exhibitors that are very much in the sustainability space, circular fashion. We'll talk about the panel discussions in a moment. But yeah, what can visitors expect from a sustainability perspective?
Yeah, these are huge themes for us, and a big focus this year. So across the 2 days, we're hosting obviously the series of live panels, and key discussions will centre around sustainability and innovation within the design world. We're super excited to welcome back Circular Sourcing. So they'll be showcasing their range of beautiful surplus fabrics, and their founder, Courtney Home, will be joining the panel alongside Anthony Chesler, the CEO of Thread Together. And then they'll be joined by representatives from Clo3D and Browseware. So we really want to create a real forward-thinking conversation around sustainability, matters and concerns, and really about how these are actively being put into practice across sourcing and tech and production.
Yeah.
So we've got Kate Honey. She is a consultant. I'm super excited to have her here. She's a consultant supporting manufacturing and supply chain businesses to implement sustainability and circular economy solutions. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's so worth it. Kate has so much experience and expertise in design futures, ESG strategy, climate reporting standards. And so she's helping companies translate ambition into practical real world action. And I think this is really key because we do have those emerging designers, but also some really well established mid-tiered brands that don't have the infrastructure to implement a sustainability department, or they don't even know what that looks like or where to start.
Yeah.
So Kate brings years of research and tools into her advisory work. And so she'll be particularly valuable to those mid-tier brands who just don't yet have the infrastructure for a full sustainability department, but they're ready to start their transparency journey.
Amazing. So you've got quite a lot of variety in terms of the panel discussion. So you've got the innovation side, design side, sustainability, and there was another one, I think, was there? The fourth pillar?
So sustainability and innovation will be one topic, and then the design-led conversation.
Yeah. Is there anyone else you want to mention in terms of the panel discussion? Because this is new. So for everyone tuning in, the panel component of the event is new, which is super exciting because I think much like the Global Sourcing Expo, which I've been involved in for many years, totally different event. But I think a big draw card for that event is their global seminar series because, again, if you think about it, the amount of events that we have in our industry has kind of shrunk over the years. So it's quite a unique opportunity to, sit in the audience and hear from industry thought leaders and change makers and just get that injection of knowledge that you often just can't get anywhere else. So are the panels going to run over the 2 days, Pat? What's the format going to be like?
Yeah, so we obviously have the two headline discussions, sustainability, innovation, and then the design-led panel. They will be across the 2 days. And I will mention that it is free. It's a free event. So there's no cost involved to come. But a really dynamic lineup of panelists. I can mention someone. We've got the head of design at Witchery, Kirby Hanrahan. So really excited to have her confirm and be on that design-led panel and joining that conversation. And I think we're going to get some really valuable insight into creative direction, trend evolution, from that major Australian brand perspective, and then voices from the boutique market. So we've got a few more exciting names in the pipeline still to be confirmed. So definitely watch this space, but it's going to be a really thoughtful, inspiring series of conversations that speak directly to where the industry is headed, the challenges, the successes, and everything in between.
Yeah, amazing. I feel like people need to save both days. So it's the 27th and the 28th of August. So I'm listening, I'm thinking block out both days in your calendar, everyone, because there's going to be so much to see. And then sitting in the panel discussions, you want to make time for that.
Yeah.
I just know, I've tried to cram other events into one day and I always regret it. I always think, why didn't I plan for more time? Because it is a unique opportunity to get out and connect and take in all this amazing knowledge and also look at the commercial opportunities. So I'd definitely be saving those dates because I'm sure you'll regret it if you don't. So for anyone who hasn't attended the Design Gallery event in the past, based on everything we've already discussed, is there anything else you'd like to share that they would need to know in terms of why they must book a ticket to this event? And it's free. I mean, it's just free. Amazing as well.
Look, I would say that this isn't just another trade show. It's a curated experience built with the entire design community in mind. So whether you're a founder, a designer, a student, a supplier, a creative director, this platform was really created for you. As I said, we're not convention expo. It's intentionally intimate and highly curated so that we design those really meaningful conversations. And it's more than just sourcing. It's a really beautiful space to engage and to learn, to reconnect with old colleagues, meet new partners, and just really be inspired by what's happening across fashion and innovation.
Yep, there's your reason right there, everybody. I wanted to ask you, Pat, how have you found this experience from, owning an agency and doing what you do on the daily to now, becoming an event organizer with purpose. This is a very purpose-led event, and it's in synergy, obviously, with what you are doing in your agency. But how have you found, putting that event organizer hat on? Because I know how it feels because I've run many events over the journey, and it's not for the faint-hearted. How have you felt going through this whole process and not just running the event, but taking it to the next level every year, elevating as you go?
Yeah, I think it was just such an organic idea. And I think being a print agent, working already having kind of a community and had so much support from the community, everyone kind of jumped on board and said, absolutely great idea. And so from day one, we had that support, which I think was really important. And then from there, it kind of evolved. And I think it was after the third event that I just kind of thought, we're getting momentum. Like people are really enjoying this. Where to next? How can we evolve? And that's when we really took our print and textile goggles off and thought, let's go approach the big guys. Let's go ask
Yeah.
Cloak 3D and these international tech leaders. And then it was just sky's the limit in who we approached. And I guess it's just it is a really, I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that passion has evolved, I guess, from that point of saying we just started as a print textile sourcing event, which is, where we first met and what
Yeah.
you had seen. And yeah, so I think that dream and that drive has been growing as well. And that's really, yeah, I feel really excited about it. And just, yeah, I guess that full creative ecosystem and making sure that we're really giving our designers and our Australian design sector the best in innovation, the best in tech, the best in print,
Yeah.
to set them up for success. And yeah, I don't think I ever really considered being here. That wasn't really part of, on my bingo card, as they say, but but here we are, and I think that's the beauty of the event really evolving on its own. And that's
Yeah.
really, yeah, special to see.
Yeah. Well, I love everything you're doing, but I know how hard it is behind the scenes when you are planning these events and, of course, running your own business at the same time. So we know for sure that your role is not only dynamic, but it's demanding at times. And so you're managing your agency, you're managing this major event. We'd love to know what practices or routines or support systems that you have in place, Pat, that help you to maintain your well-being and to operate at your best.
I love to take my dog for a walk. I know that sounds, pretty simple, but I really try and take the time to finish my work day. And we have a really beautiful park down the road it's huge. It's full of big native trees. It's got kookaburras and it's just a really beautiful reset. And it's so important after what can be quite an intense, concentrated work day. It's really important for me to reset. And I find that really kind of connecting with nature is my way of really resetting, and a really beautiful way to then segue into the evening, pick up my daughter from school and be present. And that for me is really important. I think being a business owner, it's very hard to disconnect.
Hmm.
You're always on. And I'm a salesperson. So I'm constantly, I get excited when those sales come through. So it's a real challenge for me to disconnect. And so I find that a walk, 30 minutes, 45 minutes is a really nice way to just, yeah, segue into the evening and be really present with my family for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
And then your support team. I think, that's super important, those support systems, just surrounding yourself with really supportive and encouraging people. I think that's important to have that positivity and people telling you that, to dream bigger. And I'm really lucky that I've got that support network as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. Getting out in nature, walking, fur babies, support crew. We've
It
all got to
doesn't
have
it
it.
doesn't help when my dog's looking at me at 3:30 going, come on, let's go. Let's wrap it up.
Sometimes it's good. It's like, yeah, I'm wrapping it up. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna prioritize today. I love that. So, Pat, looking ahead, what impact do you hope the design gallery will have on the future of design and the fashion industry in Australia?
Our aim is to shift the way industry sources and comes together in Australia. We want to create an environment that feels intentional, inclusive, inspiring, and one that really supports the creative journey. So for emerging designers, we really hope that the design gallery becomes a launch pad for them. For established brands, a place to source from global leaders and local makers and to discover really future facing solutions. And for the industry as a whole, a space that really reflects the richness and the diversity and the potential of Australian design. We want the design gallery to become the place where ideas spark, new partnerships form, and Australian design really evolves with purpose and impact.
I love that. And no doubt you're going to make that come true, not only with this year's event, but the events to come. So save the date, everyone, 27th and 28th of August. So Carriage Works in Sydney. Pat, if our listeners want to connect with you, where is the best place to do so?
Look, LinkedIn, we've got the Design Gallery website, so you can find out a little bit more about the event there, and then Partridge Agency if you're looking for really beautiful designs.
Amazing. I'll put all of those links in the show notes so everyone can find them easily. Pat, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing an insight into the amazing event and also just the print side of the industry. I just feel that it really needs a light shone on it. So thank you for pulling back that curtain today. Congrats to you and your team on everything you've achieved so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can't wait for the next design gallery in August.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you for tuning in to Fashion Business Mindset. We'd love to stay connected. Fashion Equipped is a leading Melbourne-based consultancy, partnering with fashion and lifestyle brands, retailers, wholesalers, and industry leaders globally. We specialise in strategic advisory, growth planning, and brand elevation, empowering fashion businesses to scale with confidence and impact. I invite you to head to fashionequipped.com.au to join our mailing list and receive the monthly edit, your go-to source for industry insights, business optimization strategies, and free trend reports. While you're there, explore our consulting services, our online learning and mentoring programs. We'd also love to connect on Instagram. You can follow us at Fashion Equipped and at Fashion Business Mindset for more industry insights and inspiration. We're here to help you navigate the business of fashion and take your brand to the next level.
This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.